the Syracuse Planning Commission. We will immediately begin our public hearings, and we will hold on our minutes, waiting the arrival, we expect momentarily, of a fourth commission member, and even as I say that, he walks in the door. Nevertheless, we'll let him get his breath before we tackle the minutes of our last meeting. So we will move into our hearing schedule for this evening. We have quite a few public hearings tonight, and for those of you who are not familiar with the process, as each application is announced by a member of the staff, we ask that the applicant or their representative come forward to the podium in the front, provide your name and address for the record, and then a brief summary of the application. And following questions from the commission members, we will invite members of the public who wish to speak in favor of the application to do so. And then similarly, we will invite members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to the application to do that as well. Where comments are made in opposition, we will encourage the applicant to return to address the comments made in opposition. So as you come forward, please remember to provide your name and your address for the record before you offer your comments either way. So with that, I think we are set to begin our hearing schedule for this evening.
The first public hearing, good evening, Commission members. Mr. Kulik, the first public hearing this evening is a re-subdivision. It's R2211. This is to combine 3 properties into one new lot at 302 to 314, 318, and 320 Euclid Avenue. William Osakowski is the owner and applicant. The properties lie within a residential Class B zoning district. The companion case is a project site review. It's PR 2202. This is for demolition, new construction, and site alterations at 302 to 314, 318, and 320 Euclid Avenue. William Osakowski is the owner and applicant, and the properties lie within the residential Class B zoning district. And this was is a continuation from April 25th, 2022 meeting schedule.
And Heather, might you also read the second, introduce the second one as well, since these are companion cases? Is before we'll hear these together, but we will need to act upon them separately when the time for that comes.
Yes.
If the applicant is here, please come to the podium and provide a summary of the project.
Good evening. I'm Jared McCormick. I'm the project architect with Daniel Manning Architects here in Syracuse, New York. Since this is a continuation, do I need to run through the project again, or?
Yes.
At a high level, You don't need
Okay.
to get into necessarily every detail, but the overall scope.
All right. This project involves the combination of 3 existing parcels from 302 to 320 Euclid Ave, combination into one parcel consisting of 39,000 square feet for the purpose of constructing a single apartment house of 15,000 square feet, 3 stories, with 38 apartment units and 38 parking spaces.
Okay. Questions from the commission members concerning the project application?
I think it would be helpful if you could address some of the concerns that were stated last time by the commission as well as the public, and how you have addressed them since that time.
Okay. We haven't come up with an official redress of the comments, but we would like to address a few of the items that were brought up on the overall kind of presentation. Concept being that this project is in an RB zone, which explicitly says that this is for high-density residential development. There were comments that were brought up that said this does not fit, that's not the purpose. There are any single-family homes. You know, we take the stance that we approach this right from the letter of the regulation of the zoning ordinance. Additionally, Comments concerning the height and scale of the project. RB does not currently have a height restriction in the zoning guidelines, as well as, getting into parking. I know there were numbers thrown out of 99 parking spaces required. There are not. There's 99 bedrooms, but per the zoning ordinance, it is 1 per dwelling unit, which there are 38, and there are 38 parking spaces proposed. As stated before in our previous meeting, we feel that the project meets and falls within all of the guidelines within the RB zoning regulation. To a T, it does not, we're not asking for waivers, we're not asking for any special considerations, whether it's tax incentives, tax agreements, increases in area, and also speak about adjacent properties. There are 2 large properties kitty corner to this project, one being Shaw Hall University, which is a combination of 3 to 6 stories, and then on the opposite corner, Lions Hall, which is a full 3-story commercial apartment, I believe, use property. There are also 10 to 12 full 3-story properties within 400 feet of this project. So the scale and the size of what's proposed, we don't feel that that's out of the ordinary for that area. And I think the main point about the re-subdivision was the point of taking the entire block. I don't know that there was a specific comment to say that that's not allowed, but maybe it is, and we're not aware of the regulation or the guidance that would direct that.
I don't think the comments were about not being allowed, but it was, as I recollect, had more to do with consistency with the rest of the adjoining neighborhoods. Okay. Cut you off, but if your summary is complete, let me pause and see if my colleagues have any questions. Any questions for the applicant?
I guess the only question I would have is if they're aware of the comments of the Landmark Preservation Board in terms of the character of the community and the review of in that area of possible historic designation.
Yes, we were made aware of that. Again, I don't know if I had a chance to speak to that, but that was brought to us at the very last minute. We were actually on the agenda here, up here before you, and we were brought in at the last minute to address the landmark preservation. We also aren't clear on how pending status of that district, not finalized yet, regulates something that we're proposing right, at this moment, and what the process is for addressing that when it's not a final district or criteria that we need to abide by.
All set. You're set. Okay, thank you very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application, either application, the re-subdivision of the project site review? Please come forward. If not, are there any individuals who wish to speak in opposition to either application? Come forward, provide your name and address and your comments.
Good evening. My name is Heather Schroeder. I live on Westminster Avenue. This is Miranda Hine. Miranda, what street are you on?
Clarendon, 301 Clarendon.
301 Clarendon Street. And Michael Stanton?
315 Berkeley Drive.
315 Berkeley Drive. We're here to present a joint letter from the boards of the University Neighborhood Preservation Association, the Southeast University Neighborhood Association, and the Westcott Neighborhood Association. These three organizations, as well as those who have signed in support below, we have at least 109 signatures and counting so far, urge the Commission to deny application for R2211 and subsequently application PR 2202. These applications propose a single block-long apartment building that would be vastly out of scale with the many 1- and 2-family homes nearby, including the 30 single-family homes just to the south on the same block. This entire block, with the exception of the 3 parcels facing Euclid Avenue, is zoned RA1, the city's most restrictive single-family zoning category. In terms of lot size, on its own, the lot with the former brick sorority house on the southeast corner of Euclid and Ostrom is already the largest lot in this cluster of RB zoning blocks on Euclid Ave. Approval of the proposed applications would result in a 38,428 square foot lot, interfering with the medium-density residential development of this area and setting the precedent for incremental changes to the fabric of the built environment within this gateway neighborhood. In terms of density, the proposed structure would have 38 apartments, 16 with 2 bedrooms, 21 with 3 bedrooms, and 1 with 4 bedrooms. That's a total of 99 beds and potentially 99 cars added to a neighborhood that is already saturated with vehicles. The submitted plan would provide 38 on-site parking spots. Where would the other 61 potential new cars park? In terms of precedent, the design of the apartment buildings suggested in this application have no relationship to our neighborhood in style, size, materials, or historic significance. Development here could be the canary in the coal mine for the rest of the neighborhood and for the city, specifically where RB zoning is designated. There are 3 other nearby blocks with the same RB zoning. If the City Planning Commission allows this type of out-of-scale development here, can we also expect it on the remaining nearby blocks? Will it also be allowed in RB-zoned areas citywide, including, for example, parcels near the Burnett Park Zoo, the Stone Throwers Monument on Tipperary Hill, the entirety of Euclid Ave, and Ostrom Ave between East Adams and Madison Street, directly across from Thorndon Park?
Thank you for listening to us. I'd like to address the pending historic designation. These 3 properties are included in a much larger application that is in the final stages of approval with the New York State Department of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. I would guess that this has been something that's been in process for quite some time, so it isn't just suddenly been put out here, and whereas this application probably came in later, but I don't know that for a fact. Once approved, this will be one of the largest historic preservation districts in the state. I've lived here for 40 years, over, and to me it's the most incredibly exciting possibility. Homeowners and landlords alike will benefit from preservation tax credits that will become available with historic designation, providing an enormous financial incentive for revitalization of the neighborhood, something our neighborhood needs. But these tax credits will only be available for projects that follow the Secretary of the Interior's standards for historic preservation. Once demolished or significantly altered, the buildings at issue in these applications would no longer be eligible for such tax credits. Demolishing eligible properties puts the entire neighborhood at risk for losing vital rehabilitation resources. The building at the corner of Ostrom and Euclid was constructed in 1911 for the sorority Phi Beta Phi and was sold in 1925 to a fraternity, Zeta Beta Tau, during which time it underwent significant but sympathetic alterations, and to lose those properties would be catastrophic in my opinion.
Mike Stanton, Berkeley Drive. Quickly to recap some of the things I said the last time we were here, there have been more than 5,000 beds, the equivalent of 5,000 beds, 15 large projects already built just in the last 12 years for students. The enrollment at Syracuse University this year is actually a little below what it was in 1990. So there's really a surplus of student rental properties and student rental opportunities in the neighborhood. Most of these new projects were built north of campus. That's a good place for it. The university says its development is going to be moving north onto the lots that they've cleared of single-family homes, and for that purpose. We're starting to see student-oriented businesses showing up, like coffee houses north of campus. It could become a real community for student-operated or student-oriented businesses in that area. If you look at the first page of our letter, you'll see the map, and you'll see the circle around the project site. You'll notice that the lot on the left within the circle is the largest one in this little finger of properties that were taken out. The line around those properties that extends north and south, that's the definition of the University Neighborhood Special District. That district was set up in 1991 to preserve homeowner occupancy in the neighborhood. And what happens in this little finger is very important to the outcome of keeping families in the single-family houses that surround it. So I'm going to go to the next page, zoning. As we'll explain, these two proposals are not only inconsistent with current zoning, but they also would not be allowed under the new zoning proposed under rezone Syracuse. The current zoning, the 3 Euclid Avenue properties in question are all zoned residential district class B, and below are the stated purposes of this. And you'll notice it does say high density, but it also says a mixture of single, 2, 3, 4, and multiple family dwellings. In promoting the general purpose of the ordinance, this also again says to the continuous use of the land for single, 2, 3, and 4, and multiple family dwellings. The property here already has that mix. There's an apartment building, there's a couple 2-family houses. That's the kind of density that is envisioned for this area. RB zoning encourages a mix of housing types from single family to multifamily. These 3 existing structures on Euclid, a pair of 2-family houses and a multi-family dwelling, are already consistent with a variety of housing types envisioned under RB. It would be a mistake to replace this diversity at the northern end of the block with a single block length structure that would endanger the viability of the owner occupancy and the many single-family homes to the north and south. Even the local precedent for institutional housing, the Orion Lions House dormitory at the northeast corner of Euclid and Livingston Avenues, does not approach the proposed density of the development in question. By contrast, Orion Lions Hall sits on a single parcel and is only 3 stories tall, and it is a lot that is smaller than the existing lot, one of the largest of those 3 existing lots. So rezone Syracuse, whenever it comes up, people in the city shudder. Where it's not been passed yet, it doesn't really apply. You can't make your decision based on it. But at the last meeting, it was brought up by a couple of the speakers. It's sort of in the assumption that it's going to be allowing more density in the times to come. So we thought it was important to address it. Rezone is the city's first wholesale zoning revision in more than 50 years. It has not yet been adopted by the city, but it can be a useful indicator of the city's current thinking regarding areas like this. Under the most recent draft of rezone, the 3 parcels in question would be zoned MX1. There are 5 MX categories, and this is the least dense of those 5. The assumption was that the MX would be more accommodating to the proposal than what we have now for zoning. That's not the case. It is form-based code. That's what the city is moving towards. Instead of dividing the city up into shopping only here and living only there, it's starting to allow a mixture of shopping, coffee shops on the first floor, apartments on the second floor. That's what MX is designed to do. Not necessarily to give you bigger buildings, but to allow a mix of use. So here is the intended purpose of MX1 as described in rezone. The MX district is established to provide for a pedestrian-friendly, transit-supportive mix of low to medium density residential and small-scale, low-impact residential units. This district allows new residential and non-residential development that maintains the physical character of the surrounding low to medium density neighborhood. Redevelopment of residential structures into compatible non-residential uses is allowed if the residential building form and design is maintained. And particularly interesting, look at the illustration that goes with MX1 in rezone. The graphic below from the latest draft rezone document illustrates the type of development envisioned under MX1 zoning. Notice the low density, the individual buildings, and the open space between buildings. So MX goes on to actually be more specific than the current zoning is about what can be done in this area. As you can see, MX1 buildings could be no higher than 3 stories. The proposal before you is for 4 stories. More importantly, the maximum lot size for all uses under MX would be no greater than 10,000 square feet. Combining the 3 parcels as requested under the current proposals would result in a lot of 38,000 square feet, almost 4 times what would be allowed under the MX1. The largest of the 3 existing lots is already 25,000 square feet. That's more than double what would be allowed under MX1. The 2 smaller lots at 309 Euclid and 313 Euclid are below the maximum square footage allowed, but combining just these 2 would result in a parcel that was bigger than what would be allowed under MX1. So for all these reasons, we hope you will turn down these 2 proposals. Thank you.
Thank you all for your comments. Are there other individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the applications?
Hi, I'm Andrea Wandersee. I'm the Executive Director of NEDA, the Northeast Holly Development Association at 101 Gertrude Street. And based on everything that's been presented here, I would consider this a really problematic proposal. And I'd hate to see the precedent that might set for other historic and residential neighborhoods throughout the city, especially as we're seeing more and more developers come in and provide opportunities or options that may not actually meet the character and needs of the neighborhood. So I am against this proposal.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition to either application? Please come forward, provide your name, address, and your comments. Doesn't seem as though there's anyone else who wishes to speak on these. Oh, please come forward.
Hi, my name is William Osakowski, and we have not, this has not been an idea
Sir,
that has been.
Can you just state your address as well, please?
300 Euclid Ave is my office, and I reside in 3312 Henneberry Road, Pompey, New York.
Thank you.
This idea, this project has not been something that we thought about just overnight. We've been working with all the departments, I mean every department, and met with every department in the city of Syracuse asking for their input. The other projects that you, Mr. Klulik, have provided me and granted me permission to do, look at every one of those projects that I've done. They bring out and expose what a beautiful city we have, and the buildings are not cheaply constructed. We use local labor. We create jobs. The payroll that I shell out to maintain these properties in that neighborhood is really unbelievable, but I have a standard crew that does this. So we spent a lot of time in how this is going to fit in. We tried the architect company. This did not happen overnight. We spent $350,000 just for engineering, just so these people can shoot it down and try to convince you that there's something wrong with it. It's too big, it's too this, it's too that, too much traffic, there's too much trash. We've addressed every one of those with every one of the departments. We will do the same type of construction that I've done before. I am not an out-of-town person. I'm there every day. My family is there every day. My wife, my grandkids, and if you're at the graduation, my 5 little grandkids were selling Kool-Aid to the graduates at that location. We're very proud of what we have here. And this is not my first time pleading with you about these other projects. This is a nice project, and we plan on making it a gem on that block. And it's not a historic building. They may refer to it as historic. I looked it up. There's no, I don't have historic designation at 300 Euclid Ave. It was a sorority house, fraternity house, and so is the other one on the other side. 320 Euclid was a fraternity. And Mrs. Lemondola, she knows the history of that building. It was a rooming house, 22-something rooming. I converted it. I spent my money. I didn't ask for pilots that somebody referred to. I don't want nothing. I just want to be able to build it. That one place was a rooming house. So much trouble, traffic, trash. I personally went up in front of the same board to change it to apartments, and I made 7 apartments out of that. I didn't build it, hire some other local companies. I built it with my own 2 hands. I'm 70 years old. Look at my hands. I was going to wear shorts, but I didn't want to show you my legs are all scarred because I work hard. My family works hard. And this is one of the last few projects we're going to be doing. And then I'm going to pass it on to my children. We're very proud of that. And we met and meet every law that this community, the zoning, we meet everything. We're not asking for 5 stories. If the university right across the street is a 6-story building, they're blind to that. I'm not saying I'm anything like the university, but I'm trying to make our neighborhood special. Thank you. Sorry, little. You know, when you spend $350, $350,000, just have somebody throw it out the window, it hurts.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who might wish to speak regarding?
I'm not done. In addition to that one, if this is approved, we are putting solar. There's this gentleman from Pivot Solar here. We're trying to make this an energy sustainable building. I have 18 charging stations now in the university as we speak. We want to turn this building, I think the law is 10%. 10% of the parking spaces have to be solar charging. These people are going to be charging, driving their cars eventually and plugging into these things, whether they like it or not. We're catering to our customer, the university. And we're trying to give back to the university as well. Solar, we're going to put solar on, we're going to try to put solar on the roof depending on the design by the architect. We're trying to make it energy green. How's that? We're trying to make it green. I'm not looking for any rebates or nothing. We're just going to do that. I'll leave it at that. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding these 2 applications?
I'm here, I'm representing myself this time, Heather Schroeder, 125 Westminster Ave. I've lived in the university neighborhood for 8.5 years, and I've never met the man who's proposing this. I'm not a customer of the university. I'm a citizen of the city of Syracuse. I'm a taxpayer. I invest in my property, as do all of my neighbors. So we implore you to hear the impact that an out of scale, outsized, wrong material development will have on our property values on the feel of the university neighborhood as a gateway to that university. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other individuals who might wish to speak on either application, the re-subdivision or the associated project site review? If not, then as indicated at the outset, if the applicant or his representative wishes to respond, we heard one response already, but additional time if you wish to respond to the comments made in opposition. It's not required, but the opportunity is there.
I could go on.
I do have some emails that came in
Can
the
you
past few days.
Give us a, for the record, give us a sense of quantity and
Okay.
whether they express a view on the 2 applications.
Well, I'll count them. They're all against. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, There's 11. I don't know if there are any duplicates of who signed the petition, but I will give these to the applicant so he has them as well.
Thank you. And I'm not going to ask you to read the 11. I think it's just important to know for the record the quantity, what side they end up on. If you have read them yourself, any concerns appear, do any concerns appear in those 11 that weren't already articulated by earlier speakers? Or are they themes that were presented previously?
Sizing of the lot, massing of the project, scale, character, vehicular congestion.
Okay, it gives a sense of the scope of the comments. Thank you. I believe everyone who has had a desire to speak on either application has now done so. And I think we are in a position to now close these two public hearings, R-22-11 and PR-22-02. And we're also in a position to entertain action on either one. My recommendation would be to begin with action on the re-subdivision application and then consider the second project site review application.
On R-22-11, I move to deny the application on the grounds that the proposed lot is inconsistent with lots in not just the RB district, but in the surrounding neighborhood as well.
Second.
Second.
Is there discussion on the motion?
Yes. For the record, in the area that we call the Westcott area, in parts of the Genesee Street corridor, we have had numerous applications by people proposing development for large-scale apartment buildings. Last year, we had a very lengthy two-night discussion about property on Genesee Street that would have taken down the buildings known as the Three Sisters. I say it for the record because you can go back and look up our meetings during times of COVID. Everybody up here knows I can get as excited as anybody else on the planet, but tonight I won't. I'll merely say, consistently around the greater Syracuse area, because we do 3-mile subdivisions, we do the city of Syracuse, we do Eastwood if you consider yourself separate. There is a point in time when mass and scale matters. What we have in front of us now are a series of letters with over 150 different residents of the city of Syracuse who we're sometimes told don't exist. I walked by the chief of police and I mentioned to him he might want to stay for this meeting. And Joe Cecil, who's known me for 30 years, said no thank you. Simply put, we have a consistent record of looking at whether it's the land bank or any other agency, what happens when you put multiple properties together, what happens when you try to have a large-scale project in a residential area, and that's what we're still talking about. It's a residential area. I rest. Thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, then all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is approved. The proposed re-subdivision is not approved. It takes us to PR-22-02, the project site review that's associated with the proposed re-subdivision. And while the project site review as proposed cannot proceed based on the action this board has just taken, I would recommend action on this to bring this to a formal conclusion. The project site review PR-22-02. Is there a motion on this?
Motion to deny the approval on the grounds that it's not in compliance with the characteristic of the neighborhood.
Second?
Discussion on the motion. If not, then all in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The project site review, PR-22-02, is not approved. And we move to our next public hearing.
Our next public hearing is SR 2202. This is also a continuation from April 25th of 2022. This is a site plan review for facade and site alterations at 3020 James Street. American Legion Post 1276 is the owner. Stephen Skinner is the applicant. And this lies within a split zoning district of Business Class A and Residential Class A1.
So the applicant is coming to the podium. This was a
Terry
Irene.
Horst, 306 Holly Ave, Syracuse, New York.
Thank you. I was just saying that this was a public hearing held open from the
Oh, sorry.
previous meeting. During the public comment session, an individual spoke about the possibility of some issue regarding the survey, and we held this until there might be some clarity around that issue. Are you able to?
Yes, I
Speak to
can speak to that. I think the person representing the comment is here as well. I provided an Alta survey to zoning department that shows that there are no other easements other than that easement to the neighboring property. And as regard to access, this project will only have access off of Nichols Street. There will be no access through that. Right now, there's a fence. We're proposing to keep the fence or replace it with a new one as part of the project site review. And I don't think there is any other cross easements with that property as well, so as far as I know.
Thank you. Questions for the applicant? Thank you very much. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward to do so. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Please come to the podium to do so.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark Edwards. I live at 305 Scott Home Boulevard in Syracuse. I am the executor of my mother's estate, and we own two properties adjacent to the Taft Apartment Complex plan. Last Planning Commission meeting on the 25th, I explained that we needed current surveys to review our property and the common border along the two properties. And I was advised on Thursday that they were done and in the mail. I have not received them yet, although I did get a digital copy on Friday. I'm sorry? Oh, on Saturday, I went to the Planning Commission's website to look at the most current plans for the Taft property development, and it was not even listed on the agenda for this evening. This morning I called at 10 a.m. and inquired if the consideration was being tabled for some reason to continue talks with the developer, because we have not worked out the issues that are between our property lines. I have not had the survey benefit until Saturday, and on Saturday I saw no change of plans. In fact, I saw no plans on the planning committee's schedule. Actually, I saw that as a positive thing, because Mr. Skinner and I have not worked out the details yet. I was advised by Catherine, who I spoke to this morning, that she would get it on the agenda. It was put on the agenda. I looked at the plans again this afternoon. There are no alterations to the plans that were discussed on the 25th. Therefore, I ask that you table this for another 3 weeks and allow Mr. Skinner and I to get these things worked out, because if we can get them worked out, I do not oppose his development plan. But I do believe that right now, the way the plans exist, it's going to interfere with the value of our property and cause problems. So I don't want to necessarily try and debate or evaluate all those problems, because we may be able to work around it, but we have not been able to because the surveys haven't been there.
So I'm sorry, I'm confused. The digital document you received is not an updated survey?
No, it is. It is.
It is an updated
Yes.
survey?
Yes.
And in looking at it, you believe that there's information that suggests you have an easement? Because as I recall, that was a concern,
There is an
right?
easement issue. There is also a door and loading dock in the back of our building
Right.
that the developers' plans, the current plans, plan to put handicap parking and their garbage dump against it. And I think it diminishes the value of our property. It's problematic. There's also landscaping that will produce quite an amount of leaves and debris onto our flat roof over a drain area. And again, there was talk by Mr. Skinner about changing the traffic pattern, but none of that concept is reflected in any plans that have been shared with me. So
your concern is about the design, not whether or not there's an easement there. That the easement issue's been resolved. There is no easement. You're just concerned about the design and the subsequent.
I believe we had an easement there. I used to work in that building when I was a younger man, and we had a delivery dock back there, and there's 2 doors right there. And they're apparent in the photos, but all the base services, handicap parking and trash, is put up against the back of our building, and without any consideration to that edge of our building, and I don't think that's appropriate.
So I'm just trying to separate the 2 issues. One is if you have an easement and they're doing something in the easement. If there is no easement, then that issue is taken care of. Then it's just your concerns about the design of his proposal. So I'm just trying to understand, is there an easement that he would be encroaching on with his project, or has that issue been resolved? And
I do not.
This looks like there is, I assume this is the updated survey. I can't read.
Yeah, this is November of 2021. There is no easement anywhere other than coming from James Street, and this is a very recent property survey. If there was, it would show on this property survey.
That's what I would think. Okay, so then your concerns would be specifically about the design and what's happening adjacent to your property.
I submit there always was an easement that we used because we used to use it. I remember my parents telling me of it. I was a young man. I wasn't saying, show me proof I can drive our trucks back here. And we always had access and shared a key to the fence that cut across the driveway on the west side of the Taft project that comes right up to our building. And when we had to access the back of our building, we went out and unlocked it and used it and locked it back up. And when the American Legion needed it for their purposes, they did the same. And over the years, the American Legion has kind of put their own locks on it and kind of gone their own way. It wasn't interfering with anything, so, you know, no fuss, no muss. But I believe there is an easement issue also.
Do you have, do you have anything that could prove that there was an easement aside from just like word of mouth?
Not at this point. I just received the survey, and I've got a abstract, and I understand you're saying if there was an easement, it wouldn't be on our abstract, but I have found an abstract in my parents' records that literally start with, in 1776, a Revolutionary War hero was given 600 acres called the Manlius Plot. And it's the beginning of the abstract that I found. So I've got some reading to do, but again, without the survey and without a comparison of the most current drawings that they have, and Terry has stated that there has been no change to the drawings, even though Mr. Skinner and I discussed the need to change some things. There just hasn't been any movement on his part yet. So do I have proof of it? No. I haven't been given it, in my opinion, I haven't been given the time to do it or the opportunity to work with Mr. Skinner to work this out. That's why I say, give us 3 more weeks. I traveled the week after the meeting on the 25th. He's been traveling this week. We're zigging and zagging, but we need to put our heads together and put an answer to this, because honestly, I want to see that property stabilized behind our building. I don't want it to go to pot either, but I don't want it to infringe on the value of our property. And I think that the current design does.
When was your last conversation with Mr. Skinner?
It would have been, it was probably Monday, May 2nd. One of the solutions that we're looking at is Mr. Skinner may buy our property from the estate, and then he can do with what he wants. When I left to go hunting on April 30th, I picked up an envelope that I thought was going to be a purchase offer for our property. I traveled down to the Hudson Valley. On Monday, I opened it, and it was a document to give Skinner Real Estate exclusive rights to sell the property. I texted him and I said, this isn't a purchase offer. What are you doing? He said, just ignore all the rest of it. Well, wait a second. The document says exclusive right to sell the property, not a purchase offer. And so I texted him at that time. That was the last time I had direct communication with him. I texted him and he just said, oh, ignore all that. You know, we'll work it out. Okay, let's work it out, but we haven't yet. On Wednesday of last week, I delivered to his office explaining that if he's interested in buying it and going over all these issues of common border and all the problems there, then to please submit a purchase offer on it. I doubt he has seen that letter because I dropped it at his office on Wednesday, and my understanding is he's traveling. Is he still out of town, Terry? Any idea when he gets back? Okay, all right.
I have a question of staff. So a good portion of the proposed parking lot, and Jeff, I apologize, I probably should have taken the iPad, but nonetheless, it appears to be, it is a wooden fence. Is it? Yeah, yeah. It appears to be a wooden fence, but the little piece over by the dumpster is chain link. Is that because we're dealing with 2 different zoning classifications, and so the screening by the residential properties has to be different, has to be obscured?
No.
The properties to the west are business class A. My understanding, and I'll defer to Terry, but the chain link fencing has been existing and has been used to prevent vehicles from traversing between 30/20 and
Cutting through the block, essentially. Okay. So, again, the question of easements aside, which is different than the design issue, would a solid fence be more, would a solid fence address your issue where the dumpster is located? Or is it that your issue is with fencing of any type?
Well, I guess if a fence is put up and we can't open that gate, then our accessibility to the back of our building is hampered. So out of the two options, brain to tongue, it sounds like a fence that can be, or with a gate on it, is more practical, but having the garbage for approximately 40 apartments being dumped right at the corner of our building into a dumpster doesn't sound very attractive either. And even in their design, they have a patio that's going to be 20 feet from that with a prevailing northwesterly wind. People up on that patio are going to be sniffing garbage all day.
So, what I'm trying to narrow this down to is, if there is no easement, if we can go with that for just a moment, if you do not have an easement, if what he's proposing in the way of fencing in terms of height, location, and materials is actually required by the zoning ordinance, we would be remiss to tell him not to do that. So it is my assumption that some type of fencing is going to be needed for what he's proposing and the adjacent properties. So the question then becomes, if you had an easement, could there be a gate in it so you could maintain that access? But if there is no easement, what he's doing is conforming to the requirements. And I'm not really sure what we do if this is an updated survey and it doesn't show an easement. I'm not sure how, if we have a role in how that gets resolved.
I would just say, if you feel that there's an easement, if you can provide proof of that, then that would help.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
So just a question for staff. Because of what the speaker's saying, he received a digital copy of a survey recently. Is there any survey that we've received, that this office has received in 2022? Is there a new version? Because Mr. Skinner said the person doing the survey, the group doing the survey, had surveyed those other properties too, so they know the area. Have we received anything since the last meeting?
Just this.
This dates back.
And this is for the property in question, and if there were any other easements, it would show on here.
And the surveys I have yet to receive that are in the mail are of our properties, not of the Taft properties.
So you received the Taft property digital copy on Saturday, and you're waiting for paper copies on your property?
No, I've seen the digital copy of the Taft survey through the plans that are published on the Planning Committee website. That's how I have been able to observe their survey and their plan, because it's all listed in that link on the website.
Yeah, this one we just got.
What was missing was a survey of our two properties, and it's and our properties are not pure squares. There's a 3-foot out push out on it would be the north side. There is a 4 to 5 foot push out to accommodate the loading dock at the back of our building where the doors are, where their dumpsters and handicap parking are planned. So it's a little bit of a jigsaw. It's got to be figured out. But right now, I can't answer what exactly the problems are specifically, because I haven't had a chance to really review our surveys against their plans. And that's why I say, give us 2 or 3 weeks to do it again, and you know, because the surveys were just done.
Well, these hearings aren't intended to,
To move things along, I understand,
well, they are
sir.
intended to move things along, but not to get to the nitty-gritty of every project, down to the little details. Last time, you seemed comfortable saying that in 3 weeks, we'd have a survey. If we were to hold it, and we don't, or you don't, if the commission were to hold this open till the next meeting, I would think whatever information is available to the commission by next meeting would be the information it has to use to make a decision, whether other issues come up or not. So I can't speak for my colleagues, but be open for consideration of holding this open one more time, but not beyond that. And if there need to be conversations between you and the applicant over how the thing is designed, those will need to take place outside of the commission.
And that is
meetings.
fair, and I'm okay with that.
But also within the timeframe. We don't want to hold this continuously. We've yet to hear from the applicant tonight in terms of response to the comments made, you're making to not act on this tonight. So we want to offer her the opportunity
Sure.
to do that. But if you've covered your comments in opposition, I will extend an invitation to others if they wish to speak in opposition to it. And then, as we had said at the outset, return to the applicant, and then we'll see where my colleagues are in terms of what, if any, action we take on this tonight.
That's more than fair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? If so, please come to the podium, provide your name, address, and your comments. So I see no other speakers. We offer the applicant an opportunity to respond to the comments made in opposition.
Yes, I think just to cover that, in regards to the dumpster, we do show an enclosure for the dumpster. So it'll be on a pad, it'll be fenced, and it'll be a dumpster that has a lid on it. So it won't be just open containers of trash. So it'll be contained, and that's, you know, contained for the smell. And again, there is a 10-foot landscape buffer that goes right up to the edge of his property, the neighbor's property line. And at that point, we also start a cedar fence. So the solid cedar fence starts at that property line corner and then continues down. We do show the handicap parking in that location in question. I mean, that area is already paved, and it is the closest proximity to the handicap accessible ramp needed for that access. So I think their location is integral to the function of the space.
Thank you for the
And
additional
as far
comments.
as, I can't speak for Mr. Skinner as far as creating agreement or any kind of agreement between access through his property from Nichols Street into the adjacent. So that would have to be something solely between Mr. Skinner and that owner.
Understood, understood. Okay, thank you. Colleagues, is there a desire to act on the application this evening, or hold it open until our first June meeting?
If it doesn't create a technical problem for the number of days that it's open, what, is there a problem with the case being open for that long?
I was counting when you guys were talking.
I am your friend.
Yes. it might be cutting it close, but let's see, 21.
Carry the two.
Are we close?
Well, if you,
Would we have to improve?
it'll be 63 days, I think. 63 days from authorization, 42 from hearing. So it would have to be agreed upon by both parties if it was to be extended more than that, more than the 60 days.
So wait, our next meeting will be the 63rd day? Is that what you're saying?
No, the next meeting will be 42 days from the first hearing, but 63 days from the authorization. So I guess it depends on, and I don't have a lawyer, so I can't. But I don't know if Terry
And
can.
is it the applicant who has to agree?
Yes, both parties have to agree to hold it open. I don't think so, because we have held things open twice before, but that would be it. That would be definitely the limit.
And that,
If you feel that you have enough information to make an informed decision, you can do so tonight. If any changes with respect to the physical location of the dumpster, if that is the main concern, happen, that can be a modification. So that you do have options, or you can hold it open.
so on the assumption that the clock starts ticking, the 60-day clock starts ticking on the date of the first hearing, and so we are now at, or we will be at 42 days. I think the consensus of the commission is to hold this open one more time, and see what additional information comes forward, and be prepared to act on the application at the next meeting of the commission.
If I could, just for the record, I'd like to suggest that the owner's representative share our concerns with the owner about the timing, but also note that we believe what's being presented conforms to the zoning requirements, but that we're granting time for the adjacent neighbor to try to resolve these issues. But to the neighbor, I would also say, if there is no easement, if there's something about the design that you feel could be improved, that you let the owner know that, because we will have to act next time. And the way it is now, it pretty much conforms to what the requirements are. But if, for example, instead of a chain link fence, you wanted something to be wood, those are the things that would be important to let them know now, so that we have all the information and we can act next time. Thank you.
Okay, so concurrence of my fellow commission members, we will hold this hearing open until our first meeting in June.
Okay. The next public hearing is SP 2205. This is a special permit for indoor amusement and recreation at 451 South Warren Street. 451 Warren Street LLC is the owner, and Anthony Casamatides is the applicant. And the property lies within a central business district Office and Service zoning district.
Is the applicant here? If so, please come, come to the podium, provide your name and address, and then a summary of the project.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Katsimatidis, 4634 Ridge Road in Cazenovia. It's where I work out of now. This project is for a small space, retail space on South Warren Street. It was previously a salon, a hair salon, and they moved out, and the owner found a tenant that wants to create a small axe throwing and knife throwing and bow and arrow facility. It was sort of a new one for me, but it's kind of interesting and it seems to be kind of popular. This space will accommodate 4 lanes for axe throwing and knife throwing and 1 lane for bow and arrow usage. The applicant also is putting in a small kind of service counter in the back for drinks and sandwiches. No kitchen, no prepared food. Everything is brought in just like you would at an airport counter. You just, if you want a ham sandwich, it's right there in the refrigerator. So he doesn't want to cook anything. He indicated that he's not applying for a alcohol permit or anything. Mostly what I gather from the space is that the people that come here, it's usually if you're throwing a birthday party or a graduation party or something for friends, you come and you hang out. His anticipation is that there probably will be about 5 employees, 4 to 5 employees at any given time in the space, and no more than about 20, 24 people using it. If there's a party, maybe most he said probably a lot less than that. The hours of operation, he's told me, which I put on the application, I believe are between the hours of 5 p.m. and 10 or 11 p.m. Monday to Friday, and Saturdays from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. So it's pretty much an evening establishment. Other than that, I can tell you that he has other facilities, and he gave me some specific requirements, like for the back walls. They're basically 6 inches thick of solid wood. He just replaces the wood every time it gets chopped up. So the building owner is kind of like, okay, good, my building's not going to get damaged. And the cages that enclose each lane are enclosed on the 2 sides as well as the top. And all the walls, basically this is a very simple remodel because there's really nothing going in other than a small 11-foot high plywood wall for the bow and arrow, and then chain link fences for the axe run. These aren't just chain link fences, they're thinner, smaller size, heavier gauge fencing material. He gave me the specs for this stuff because he's done this before. Other than that, I think everything else should be on the drawings if you have any questions.
But believe it or not, this is not the first one of these we've seen. And I asked this the last time, do people bring their own equipment?
I don't know.
Because there's a part of me that is a little perplexed by people walking the streets with axes.
Well, I do know, I don't know whether people bring their own, but I do know he has a supply of material. And he is, apparently, if you look up, Ben is a sort of renowned axe throwing expert, apparently. And he has a reputation all over the country, apparently. So I was like, this is like a whole new world for me too. So, but it seems like an interesting opportunity for Warren Street. And I know Warren Street. I used to own this building. I sold this building last year. And to bring activity to that street again, and one that's not just bars and restaurants, I think is a good, approach. But
just a clarification, I happen to have my packet open to the page with the hours, so the Saturday hours are a bit longer. I think it's 11 to 11.
Yes, yeah, 1 to 11, yeah, something like that, yes.
Also, did you see the Landmark Preservation Board's comments about signage?
Yes, I spoke with Jeff. I spoke to the tenant, and so the sign that's going up now is only in the front of the building over the door, which was where the salon sign was. It's just going to replace that one. He's not going to do the rest of the signage because he wanted to try to do it, but then he realized that the zoning wouldn't really allow, and we discussed whether he wanted to try and fight for it, and he said no. I'd rather he's a really very easygoing guy to work with. Very good.
Thank you.
Further questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Please come to the podium. Sure, you can be in between, for or against.
Thank you. I'm Andrea Wandersee, Executive Director of NEDA, resident of Syracuse, 139 Cook Avenue. And I'm not sure this is what's being approved, sounds like you're talking about the building, but I'm really hung up on the axe throwing in the middle of downtown Syracuse, and I'm not sure if that's what's being discussed here. I'm a gamer. I love Dungeons and Dragons. I love cosplay. But I'm not sure our community needs something that has axe throwing in downtown Syracuse right now. And I have huge concerns around that, and I don't know what the correct forum would be for that conversation to happen.
Well, this is a special permit for that very purpose.
Okay, yeah, so I think my gut reflex is I'm against that. Right now, we have people getting shot in the streets. We have knife fights throughout the city, and we have a shortage of police officers, and I just cannot envision. I'm glad they're not going to be serving alcohol. I mean, cheers. But I have to say, as a citizen, I have a concern around this. We have a lot of violence going on. And again, I can imagine that there are a group of people who do this because it's part of their sort of gaming culture, which I'm totally get, but I'm not sure that this would be an asset to our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else, excuse me, who might wish to speak for or against this application before we invite the applicant back to address the comments in opposition? Anyone else? In that case, Anthony, would you have the floor if you wish to take advantage of it.
It's a hard, I appreciate the comments, actually. It's a hard one because when I was first asked to be the architect to do this, I was like, what's axe throwing? And I had to actually send reaction. And the more I looked into it and I researched and spoke to Ben, I found that it's like any other sport. It's a sport. It's not being outside. You're not outside. Like, you won't allow anyone to leave it's totally on the inside, which kind of like any sport, there are dangers. Baseball, you can get hit in the head with the bleacher ring, right? So any sport has its issues. So that's kind of how I rationalized it. Is it something you would want to have in your city? Probably you're looking at it as a recreational facility, like any other recreational facility, I guess. How else, can you justify all of the different activities that we do in recreation other than it's a pastime that we would hope keeps people off the streets? If this was a activity that some young kids go, yeah, let's go throw some knives and stuff. Well, here's a safe place to do it inside. And that's kind of what I've learned speaking to Ben and researching, because I actually did a lot of internet, and apparently it's a big thing out there. Who would have known? So.
Thank you.
terms of reviews, is this something the downtown committee might have reviewed, commented on?
Not that I'm aware. They, I mean, we didn't specifically ask the downtown committee to review it. I do know that this body in Common Council approved an indoor amusement recreation for this exact thing once, if not twice, I think. Once on West Fayette, the Rock West, the old Rock West building, and then I feel like there was another one towards
On the north side,
Geddes,
maybe?
more like
Oh.
Geddes and West Fayette, yeah. So as an indoor amusement and recreation establishment, it does require a special permit, the reason for the hearing. I forgot what else you were asking. Oh, downtown committee. Yeah, I don't have any other comments.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments, questions from the commission members, of the applicant or of staff? No? Okay. Then I think we are in a position to close the public hearing and consider action on this. So this is SP-2205, special permit for indoor amusement and recreation. Is there a motion on this?
Move approval of the negative declaration. Second, can I just add something?
Please.
That approval with the understanding that it will be in compliance with the signing allowed in the establishment.
Yes.
And just as a, this does need to go to the Common Council for their consent, so if there's any concerns, can be brought up with Common Council, just as a point of information.
I think it's also worth pointing out that at least once, perhaps twice, we have approved this. And in one case, it was adjacent to a residential neighborhood. The one on West Fayette is right around the corner from basically the near West Side neighborhood. So I think we share the concerns, and I agree with Heather that certainly you could go to the Common Council.
Okay, then in that case, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The special permit is approved and moves on to the Common Council.
The next public hearing is SP 2206. This is a special permit for a restaurant at 136 Beatty Street. Cleghorn Properties LLC is the owner, and Christopher Depot is the applicant, and this property lies within a commercial Class B zoning district.
Good evening. My name is April Morovich. I live at 134 Windermere Road in the town of Geddes. My husband and business partner, Christopher Depot, the applicant. We are seeking a zoning variance for the property at 136 Beatty Street. We would like to open a production microbrewery with an adjoining tasting room within the existing footprint of that property. A little bit about us. We've been professional brewers for a cumulative 20 years. After living and working on both coasts, we've opted to specifically move back to Syracuse to do this, which is Christopher's hometown. Please excuse our inexperience up here. It's the first time doing this. While it's owned a restaurant, we do not intend to have a kitchen. There's not going to be any food prep and no axe throwing. So,
That's a plus.
yeah, our architect was supposed to be here this evening with us. However, he had a family medical emergency and could not make it. So, be gentle.
We just need explanations for the 5
Deviations.
Yep.
Yeah.
There are several things that deviate from the requirements, and wondering if you could tell us why you need us to waive those. So for example, the proposal requires 32 off-street parking spaces. You're only going to provide 8. Can you tell us why that is?
The property is on a very finite footprint. There really isn't anywhere to expand. It can only accommodate the 8 parking spots, including one ADA compliant parking spot. We are seeking a zoning variant or a variance for parking on the street. There's no prohibition against it currently. Yes, I would love to have plenty of parking on site. However, the footprint of the property does not allow for that.
So there were actually 5 of these, 5 of these such things. The first one you just addressed related to off-street parking, and I take it they don't have a copy of this.
It doesn't look like
Yeah.
was emailed to cjdepot@yahoo.com.
Yes.
And place on copies at gmail.com on May 5th.
What was the question? Sorry.
Going through the variances.
Oh, go with it.
Let's try to run down through these and if you could provide.
No, that's it. That's
so
comments.
there are
Hang
4
on.
additional waivers.
I got it in front of me.
Oh, you have a copy? Thank you.
Sorry, we were relying upon our architect.
Focus on the ones that start with BB8s.
Okay.
So as currently designed, your project needs these 5 waivers that are listed on whatever he just handed you. You've already talked about the reason behind the off-street parking waiver, and if you could just walk through the other 4 and provide an explanation why those additional waivers are needed.
Okay, so the driveway, again, it's a very, very finite boundaries on the property. There's only one area for the existing driveway to be in. There's nowhere else to reroute it to.
Okay, and the next one on my list is the curbing requirement. Do you see that on your?
Along the edges of the driveway or parking lot.
The intention is basically wherever there's asphalt to provide an edge so that people don't go off the asphalt and park on lawn or neighboring property. So it says that your site plan doesn't show that you're providing a curb anywhere. And is there a reason why you're not?
The intention is to provide a curb. I
Okay.
couldn't tell you why it did not get included on the site plan, but there will
Okay.
be.
So if that's part of your intent, that waiver's not needed, if that's going to be incorporated into your plan.
Okay.
Okay, and then the next one on my list and is, the order I'm going in here is the screening requirement.
Along the western lot boundary.
I think that's boundary maybe?
So that
Western boundary.
side of the property just kind of goes off onto, I believe it's actually a city-owned lot. There's nothing on that, on the other side. There's just trees and some
Foliage and stuff that's been growing. there.
foliage down there. There's nothing, there's no buildings or abutting residence or.
And is there a house to the, if you're facing the property?
To
is
the
there a-
south.
To the south?
Yes.
Okay, and are you providing any screening?
Yes, we are planning,
Okay,
Well, it's an odd lot because Beatty Street is on a grade.
right?
And actually, the roof line of this building, our building, is actually below the grade of the abutting residence. So it's a difficult one to address. I'm happy to attempt to put additional screening up there if it's.
Apparently, that's not required, it's only at the back property line, and as you just said, and as I can see here on the aerial photo, there's a lot of nothing behind you.
Yes, there's some deer.
So the final one would be sidewalk. And there's no, it says no, the site plan shows no sidewalk along Beatty Street.
There are no sidewalks along either side of Beatty Street, up or down, currently, so it would not even tie into anything. And
What, in the outdoor area where you were going to have key gravel, what happens out in that space?
The intention is to apply for a patio permit in the future. We really just wanted to get this part going so we can get our federal application moving along, but to have an outdoor patio space potentially.
There'd be maybe a subsequent modification?
Correct.
To your, okay, for additional customer space?
Yes.
At a later time?
When the weather gets nice, everybody wants to be outside.
Someone asked about a more robust planting plan.
So I'm just going to interject there. If you really plan to do that, you should show that now, because say you open in a month and it's nice for the rest of the summer and you start you start putting people out there. That's not what you're presenting here tonight, so you might want to present that tonight. I don't want you to get caught up in a situation where you're going to get cited by code enforcement because you weren't allowed to do it because you're not presenting it, but then you decide to do it when the weather's nice.
I understand completely, and I want to be in compliance, so we have every intention of doing, doing the application.
Okay, so, well, it would be part of that.
We can do that tonight?
Well, I think Jeff had tried to explain that to you.
Okay.
So we would just need to figure out that extra customer area, and we would add it into your parking requirement because they need to waive a specific amount.
Okay.
So it would be just calculating that,
Rather than design on the fly,
yeah.
would it be better just to hold this open and let you folks revise the drawing so it includes all of these things with the I's dotted and the T's crossed, and then next time we can just give them everything they need?
Well, let me just see real quick. Okay.
So if we can't do this on the fly, I would request that we can get the variance going, because we do have to apply for federal licensing for beer production, and that is dependent upon the property being zoned properly.
It might be worth coming back for the modification, honestly.
Yeah.
On the outside seating, in other words, honor code, you didn't get into the outside seating knowing that you had to come back with a...
Absolutely. I mean, the whole build-out and licensing procedure is pretty lengthy with both the feds. Well, states expedited things, but we do have a lot of time between application and to be able to come back and get the approval and do all the necessary revisions to the site plan for the...
I have a question. If hypothetically move forward and approve it, could we approve it with the stipulation that the added customer space in the back is in compliance with what is allowed? Could we basically, like,
Putting my ear like you're talking into the microphone.
could we approve it with the understanding that they will add that space with what's allowed, in the way that it would be feasible and what's allowed in that space?
Well, like I said, we would have to do a calculation of the additional customer area in order to revise the parking waiver that you would need to consider.
Gotcha.
We could, yeah, just go back to that plan. Yeah, just like right in front where you have it labeled, is there full size? Yeah.
Again, I think rather than design it on the fly.
Yeah.
If we make a notation here, it's sort of what we did for Syracuse
You
University.
may do whatever you
We're-
want, I'm just trying to expedite.
But just, again, for the record, that we're moving this along, but with the anticipation there will have to be a modification to adjust for the additional customer space.
If
And I also
you-
think that we might go from as someone who was a designer for a while, pea gravel versus maybe a hard surface, you might change your mind what you want that to be, and that would be yet another change. So if it's, I just see lots of things that could change once you start thinking, what do we really want to put tables and chairs on, or picnic tables? So rather than tell us it's pea gravel and then we realize it's going to be flagstone, and how big is it versus how small it is, we could just condition that we know that that's going to be a piece of the design that will be seen as a modification.
Maybe.
What we're trying to do is get to the point where we potentially approve this on the condition that your patio space comes back to us later.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely, yes.
That's basically what I was trying to ask.
Thank you.
And if we have to adjust the parking paper again, we do that all the time. Okay. Unfortunately. Okay.
We're just trying to live the dream.
Any comments, and we'll go from there, right?
Yes.
Okay. That concludes your presentation, I take it?
I think so.
Okay. Let us continue with the hearing process then. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? Please come forward to do so. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward. No speakers here. We've heard the presentation. We will close the public hearing and entertain any motion on this application. It is SP-22-06, a special permit.
Motion to approve, with the understanding that the applicant will address the screening, as well as the curb, and the curbing, and also provide us proof of the customer space when you get to that point.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? And the special permit is approved. Thank you.
See you soon.
Our next hearing.
Okay. Really quick, I just want to eliminate one hearing from your schedule here, the very last one, and only because there's so many Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation re-subdivisions on the agenda. The very last hearing, number 11, which is R2225. It's a re-subdivision to combine 3 properties into one new lot at 214, 216, and 218 Davis Street. If there is someone here to speak in favor or against that, the land bank is asking to hold that, and Andrea can confirm. I just wanted it to be less time and one less for you to consider. So when she comes up, I'll have her confirm that, and to when it will be held if that is no. So with that, the next public hearing is R2215. This is a re-subdivision to combine 4 properties into one new lot at 512, 514, 516, 518, and 522 Oneida Street and 219 King Street. Timon and Emily Wood and the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation are the owners, and all the properties lie within an industrial Class A zoning district.
Good evening. Sorry. I'm Andrea Wandersee, Executive Director of NEDA. I'm here on behalf of the Land Bank. NEDA's at 101 Gertrude Street, and I live in Eastwood at 139 Cook Avenue. I know it's been a long night, but I do want to quickly say to everyone, Taisha Martin's left NEDA for the CNY Fair Housing. She's loved working with you guys. She's learned so much, and I just wanted to pass on her regards.
She can come back anytime.
You probably want to get her on the commission, quite frankly. She's amazing. And she really has loved working with you guys. So, the Land Bank has acquired, for 51618 Oneida Street, it's a non-buildable vacant lot. And the Land Bank acquired it in September 2021. Timon and Emily Woods owner and occupied the single-family house at 522 Oneida Street and have purchased the lot in addition to the vacant lot at 512, 514 Oneida Street. All three of these properties are in an industrial zoning district. 512-14 Oneida Street is also a non-buildable vacant lot. The land bank acquired it in July 2014. It's an irregularly shaped lot. It's 40 by 88, and it's been in the land bank's inventory for a long time. They offered this to the occupants of 508-10 Oneida Street. They offered them that opportunity to purchase the lot, but that person did not submit an application, and that person owns a lot on the other side. Timon and Emily Woods would like to combine all three parcels, which would create a 0.31 acre parcel. Together, they would create a buildable lot for new residential construction's unlikely in this industrial setting. We also feel the two lots are too small for most new industrial uses. The Woods would like to fence in the property and create a safe play space for their children. Based on the land bank's policies, we'd like to have them combine them with their adjacent property for the green space and the fence. And I also want you guys to bear with me just a little bit while we're transitioning here. Any questions?
Almost. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Please come to the podium. There are no additional speakers. We will close the public hearing and entertain a motion on this re-subdivision.
Move to approve with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion?
Just would like to note that the new lot, although it's going to be large and irregularly shaped, there is no discernible consistent lot pattern in the immediate area.
Thank you for noting that. Any further comment or discussion? If not, then all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The re-subdivision R22-15 is approved. Our next hearing.
The next public hearing is R2217, also a re-subdivision to combine two properties into one new lot at 217 and 221 McKinley Avenue. Samuel and Suhei Acevedo and the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation are the owners and applicants. Both properties lie within a residential class AA zoning district.
Andrea Wandersee, Executive Director. Okay, just making sure. 221 McKinley Avenue, it's a buildable vacant lot. The land bank acquired it in August 2019, and it's 50 by 141. They demolished the dilapidated single-family house in October 2021 using ARPA funds. The lot is not within the R&I infill target area, and this one-block-long street dead ends into I-81. We believe that new construction is unlikely at this location. Samuel and Suhei Acevedo own and live in the single-family home next door. Their home was formerly a land bank house in 2015. It was renovated by an investor and resold to them in 2018. The owners would like to expand their yard, add fencing, and improve the property's landscaping. The owner on the opposite side of the property of the street has already had a double lot with 96 feet of frontage. This re-subdivision will create a 90-foot by 141 deep lot. And so according to our general policies, we'd like to see them combine the lot for the stated purpose.
Thank you. Questions for the applicant? Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Please come to the podium. No speakers again. We will close the public hearing and entertain a motion for action on the re-subdivision.
Motion to approve the negative declaration.
Second.
Thank you both. Discussion?
Just would like to note for the record that the established lot pattern in the neighborhood has already been disrupted, and so even though this is a slightly larger lot, there are already those in the vicinity, so this would be reasonable.
Thank you for that context. And all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? R-22-17 is approved. And we move to our next public hearing.
The next public hearing is R-2219, a re-subdivision to combine two properties into one new lot at 708 Onondaga Avenue and 103 Parkview Avenue. Elitzon Jones and the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation are the owners and applicants, and these properties lie within a residential Class B zoning district.
708 Onondaga Avenue is a buildable vacant lot. The land bank acquired it in October 2021, and it's 55 feet by 113 feet. Elitzon Jones owns the 6-unit apartment building at 103 Parkview Avenue. She would like to purchase a lot for additional green space for her tenants. Although the lot is buildable, new construction is not likely because of the steep slope on the street. Based on land bank policies, we're recommending the sale and the re-subdivision and returning that to the property to the tax rolls.
Thank you. Questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? If so, please come to the podium. There are no additional speakers. We will close this hearing and entertain a motion for action on the proposed re-subdivision.
Move approval of the negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion?
Just like to note that, again, although this is a slightly larger parcel than the original two that are going to be combined, the established pattern in the neighborhood has already been disrupted, and it also is very close to the municipal parkland, so a slightly larger lot in this vicinity is really not incongruous with the neighborhood character.
Thank you. Any further comments or further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? And R-22-19 is approved. Our next re-subdivision hearing.
Next, actually, I would just ask if we could just switch these two really quick, since Andrea's already up here. To number 10 is R-2223. It's a re-subdivision to combine two properties into one new lot at 381, 391, and 393 Cortland Avenue. Ronald and Aaron Job and the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation are the applicants and owners.
Thank you.
Both lie within a residential Class B zoning district.
Mr. Job owns rental property at 39193 Cortland, and his tenants are already parking on the land bank's lot at 381. The land bank is proposing to merge the parcels and for him to install landscaping screening so it will shield the vehicles from the road. This is a buildable lot, but the land bank does not anticipate that Home Headquarters, Housing Visions, or any private developer would be interested in building on this busy street. It's close to the intersection of Cortland and Martin Luther King, and it's difficult for cars to enter and exit the roadway, given the fact that it has a shared driveway. Mr. Jobs' tenants are also parking on the land bank lot at 805 Midland and a city lot at 801 Midland, immediately west of the house. As part of the overall effort to improve the aesthetics of this corner, the land bank sold 805 Midland to the city. They're going to remove the curb cut and gravel parking surface there and plant trees on those lots. Another location where new construction would be unlikely, and it's part of their urban forestry plan.
Thank you. Questions for the applicant?
No questions, thank you.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? Please come forward. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Please come to the podium. We have no additional speakers. The hearing is closed, and we'll entertain a motion for action on this proposed re-subdivision.
Move approval with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion?
Again, noting that even though this is a slightly larger parcel than what traditionally was in the neighborhood, that traditional pattern has already been greatly disrupted. So this is a reasonable proposal.
Further comment or discussion? If not, then all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? That R-22-23 is also approved.
Okay, and I just want to confirm, Andrea, Davis Street, do you want that just held, do you want it just withdrawn and come back when you're ready?
No, I think she just wants it delayed until the next meeting. I'll confirm that with her tomorrow.
Okay, thanks.
She's having some communications with some people. There might be an amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, the next public hearing is R-2222. This is
I've been here patiently waiting for over 2 hours regarding number 11 on your agenda, and
Oh, absolutely, yes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought I announced if anyone was here for that, it would be. But that's good. No, thank you for saying that. It's important.
would you like me to?
Yeah, why don't we do that? Even though it's going to be held, you will have another opportunity as well, but definitely. So I'll announce it. She'll explain it. We'll call for people in favor or against. Is that good? Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So, I'm so sorry. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. R-2225 is a re-subdivision to combine 3 properties into one new lot. 214, 216, and 218 Davis Street. Serafina Nirabaz, sorry, I'm getting this wrong. Nirabuiza and the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation are the property owners and applicants. And these lie within a residential class AA zoning district. And this is Andrea Wandersee from NEDA, who's the executive director, and she's speaking on behalf of the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation.
Thank you. And now I'm sorry, I've just got to pull my notes up on this one, and I apologize. Nope, let me do the paper. Sorry, I put my notes away. I apologize. Here we go. So, the application that's in front of you is to combine 214 and 216 Davis Street, which would become a buildable vacant lot if they're combined. The land bank acquired the 2 adjacent vacant lots in 2016. 214 Davis was demolished in 2017, and the owner and occupant of 2018 would like to purchase the lots to provide additional yard space for her very large family to play and to provide more defensible space around her home. Davis Street is not included in an RNI infill target area, and the properties that the land bank owns on this street are plagued with illegal activity. They would sell her a 16-foot portion and retain 50 feet to build on in the future, but she would like more than the 16 feet. And they don't anticipate the block being a focus area for infill construction in the near or midterm. And that is why the land bank was recommending that. they are aware of the comments that you'll hear next. Any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Let me ask them, is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium. And if not, are there individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward, provide your name and address and your comments.
Good evening. My name is D.L. Smar, sole member of Smar Enterprises, LLC, and owner-occupant at 212 Davis Street. I purchased 204 and 210 Davis Street in 2019. In 2020, I began to install a 6-foot privacy fence around 210, 212. I approached the land bank to inquire about purchasing 214 and 216 Davis Street. I was told that those properties were earmarked for community development and that even if I submitted an application, it would not be considered. I'd like to add that at that time of the inquiry, I was told I already owned 2 lots and that the building of these new properties would increase my property value and ultimately help me. That being said, naturally one would fall back, wait for the properties to be built. Last year, summer of 2021, neighbor at 218 began to crop and harvest corn. This corn is tall as my privacy fence. I asked if she purchased the property. She did not. Last week, when I returned from vacation, I saw the land being dug up, and I couldn't understand why, because I was under the understanding that she still didn't own the lots. So I asked her, what's going on? She said she's making a place for kids to play. But the last time I checked, people play on grass, not dirt. So I trusted, but I verified. I made some calls, contacted the land bank again on Friday, and was told that this was happening. Now, I was on vacation from May 5th until last Thursday, which I believe was the 12th. This is postmarked May 5th. So I basically came back to find out this had happened. I was never given an opportunity to purchase the lots, even though I expressed interest 2 years ago. I didn't move into the neighborhood to live next to a farm. And so my concern is the neighborhood is already underdeveloped. As you've heard, it's plagued with crime and drug activity. And honestly, I don't see how a farm is gonna help any of that. I was told there were gonna be properties built, and that is what I would like to see. For the past 2 years, I've been the neighbor, the good neighbor, picking up the trash and the debris on those unkept lots. And I would think that if anybody had intentions to purchase that property, they would be doing that in good faith. Nobody would have to ask. My major concern is that my neighbor at 218 currently does not maintain the parcel they already own. As I stand in front of you, there is an abandoned 12-passenger van in front of the house. There is garbage, debris, a four-wheeler. There's a screen door sitting there that's been sitting there for 2 years. And I really, at the very least, would expect code enforcement to have come through there by now and do something. I have photos that were taken today. I would encourage you all to look at them. I have a timestamp on my phone. I took them around 3 p.m. today. Details. May 16th, 3:16 p.m. Again, as I stand here today, there are overgrown weeds, grass, and what appears to be an inoperable 12-passenger vehicle sitting in front. So it's already an eyesore, 218 alone, to say the least. Combining these lots would create a larger eyesore. And for me, I have valid concerns. Having invested nearly $200,000 on this block when nobody else cared to, of my own money, I'm not happy with this re-subdivision. And I stand in opposition to it for that reason. I don't want to live next door to a farm, period. When people want to farm, they move to rural areas, not the city of Syracuse. And honestly, I think it's unacceptable. I understand you can, grow some squash and some whatever, but to dig that whole lot up and they don't even own it yet is questionable to me. To tell the land bank one thing and do another is unacceptable. A blind man can see what's going on there. I encourage you to drive past and see it with your own eyes if you don't believe the photos that are presented to you today. I would rather see a home on those lots, We need stabilization and revitalization in that neighborhood, not green space. There's a lot of green space there. There's probably 6 lots on that block, could be more. But from 201 to 210, those are the Groom properties. From 214 down to Geddes or Delaware or whatever you want to call it is mostly tenants. They're not, not many homeowners there. And Miss Sarah, she does own her home, but she does not maintain it. And to combine 3 lots would, like I said, be just a bigger eyesore for me, and it would diminish everything that I've accomplished there. And I'm really seriously, I hope you all take that into consideration. My thing is, if she needed more space for her family, she's been living there longer than me, she could have bought that property that I bought and renovated it and had plenty of space for her family. It's a 3-unit. It was a 3-unit that the land bank did not support me in the, what is it? The, I can't think of the words. Whatever they do, the whole zoning thing. They made me turn it back to a 2. I did that willingly. It's a beautiful home. But to have a farm next door to it is not anything I've ever signed up for. And again, I expressed interest in purchasing those lots and wasn't even given the opportunity. So do that with what you will, and you all can have those pictures because I have them in my phone.
Do you need those back, or may we
No,
keep these for the
please
file?
keep them because
Okay.
I have them in my phone. I can reprint them again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience, too.
Thank you.
I will ask again, is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? And there appears to be none. As indicated earlier, we will not act upon this application this evening. It will roll forward to our next commission meeting in the month of June. I don't have the date in front of me, but 3 weeks from tonight would be the next time that it will come up for consideration. We will again, there'll be an opportunity again for people to speak either in favor of it or against it before the commission takes any action.
And I know it's being held because the applicant is reviewing all of this information, but I think in light of the mention of potential code violations at the purchaser's property, I think it would be good for us to understand what that situation is, and also more specifically about how the larger lot will be used, if indeed it is going to be agricultural versus just a lawn. It would be helpful for us to understand that as well. Thank you.
So again, R-22-25 is held open, no action this evening.
And can I just say thank you for your patience, and I want to apologize. I wasn't trying to circumvent. I didn't know you were here to speak on behalf of this, so thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I just didn't want to sit here and not be heard after all that time.
Absolutely. I agree.
Sure.
So will I receive another postcard?
Yes, you will.
Okay, so I will be looking out for this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, okay, thanks. Okay, so that's held, and we can move on to the last hearing of the evening. Thank you so much for your patience. R-2222, re-subdivision to combine 3 properties into 1 new lot. This is in the lakefront. This is 547 and 551 Spencer Street and 313 Sand Street. MC4P Management LLC is the owner and applicant. It lies within the lakefront T4 zoning district.
Hello, Peter Penizzato. I live at 161 Beresford Lane, Manoa, New York. And we purchased 313 Sand Street, and I don't have the numbers here. I believe it's 551 Spencer Street, those two together with 311 Sand Street in 2017. And then we've remodeled the houses. One's a house and one is a tavern. It's the oldest tavern in Onondaga County, and we remodeled it and brought it back to life. And we're on a corner, and we've been trying to landscape and make it really nice. And I've been working with Eric Ennis and code enforcement, and there was a triangular piece of property that was between our property and the street. And after talking to Eric, he said we should purchase that from the city, because the city, then we could insure it, and then we could plow it and keep it clean. So we did that, went through that process and bought that piece of property from the city. And then he suggested that we put the 3 properties together. So because we want to put a small patio out in the back, but these properties are very small in that area. And then we've since bought 2 more properties next to 311, so we bought 307 and 309 Sand Street. And we've remodeled all 3, and we have tenants in those locations. So what we wanted to do was just we want to do the major thing for putting the 3 properties together is we just want to landscape the area. We want to put a small patio in the back, and we want to put shrubs and landscaping and a little berm and some evergreen trees and make that whole corner beautiful again the way it was in the past. And then I've already talked to National Grid, because they put 2 brand new poles right on our property, and they left the old poles sitting there like tipping over. And then the street sign on the property that we own is tipping over as well. And I've talked to the city about that, but they wouldn't do anything until I owned the property. So that's why we bought the triangle, because it just doesn't look good with the street sign sideways, tipping over, and then these 2 big National Grid beams that are right next to brand new ones that they won't take down until I owned it, and I complain about it. So basically, I wanted to take all 3 of the properties, put them together, and landscape the whole thing as one, and that's it. Nothing else. So that's where we stand. And if you have questions, I'll answer whatever you need.
Thank you. Are there questions for the applicant?
Set, thank you.
Okay.
Pretty thorough job, I'd say, of the presentation. I think I know what's going to happen next when I ask the next 2 questions, but I'm going to do so anyways because it's part of our process. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? Please come forward.
I'd like to say it's a great idea.
Thank you. quelle surprise. And is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward. And there's no speaker for that category. So all who wish to have been heard have been heard. We will close this public hearing and entertain a motion for this proposed re-subdivision. Discussion.
I'd just like to note for the record that this is a transitional area in terms of land uses as well as in terms of lot sizes, and so the proposal is reasonable.
Thank you. Further comment or questions before we call the vote? If not, then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So R-2222 is approved. Thank you very much, and thank you for your patience.
Thank you
No
for your
problem.
patience.
Thank you.
And I think that concludes our hearings, but not our business for tonight.
Yes. SP 1815M2 is a special modification to an indoor amusement and recreation establishment. This is the Dietz Building, and this is to modify the floor plan at 225 to 303 Wilkinson Avenue. And just let me get to, oh, need the,
Thank you. I thought I was losing control.
315. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so it's a large building with several uses and a couple special permits. But this particular request is to recognize and maintain 92 dwelling units on the property. It was originally approved for 89. Certain number of retail space, office space. Then it had a special permit for indoor amusement recreation. And then there was another one, I believe, for just one? Okay. Okay, one special permit for 2 indoor amusement recreation establishments. Got it. Okay, so there are no, bottom line is there are no additional waivers or deviations as a result of increasing the number of dwelling units because the parking is met. You already waived that. And I think it's really a reorganization of the floor plan.
Oh, okay. I wondered how they ended up with 3 more units than they expected and where they showed up, but, so this, it might have been constructed as 89 and they rearranged things later and ended up with 92. Okay. That seems plausible. Any questions on?
I'm all set.
All set, thanks.
In that case, is there a motion for SP-1815M2?
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So that special permit modification is approved, and we have new business.
Yes, this is a time extension request for Z2795M1. This is 429 Southwest Street and 108 Fabius Street. This is, I believe, Stera Pharma. And yeah, I guess Stera Pharma LLC. Okay, so they would like a time extension until
End of the year?
December 31st of this year to complete the remaining site improvements that you approved in December of 2020.
So the only thing that they didn't finish was a parking lot, it looks like. Right?
Yes, yes, that is correct.
And weren't they trying to coordinate with the creek walk work?
Yes,
I don't know if that's the reason
I
for
believe
the
so.
needed additional time or not, but I remember them saying before, there was something that had to sync up with the, work on the creek walk.
okay, yeah.
So is there any additional information, or that's it? So the extension is through what?
Through December of this year, December 31st of this year.
Okay, any questions?
No.
No.
And is there a motion for the time extension?
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion?
I think we should just let them know it's been like 5 years since their initial approval, so hopefully get it done.
Any other comments or questions? If not,
How many extensions are we gonna get?
This is because I said I would write something for everybody to look at. I never did that, sorry.
Okay.
We've
been
loosely talked about.
talking about putting a limit, there is none at the moment, but we talked about putting a limit on as a policy for the commission. And I think,
Speed on that.
Yeah, I'll see if I can remember to do that this week, but we loosely have talked about like a total of 5 years to do the project, and so give you whatever number of extensions, and at the end of that 5-year period, start
Go
over.
back
Because
and
things
start.
on the ground may have changed enough that maybe we wouldn't approve it.
I think that's it.
If not, you got issues.
all right, then, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Extended to December 31st. Any other business we need to consider tonight?
No.
We have one new authorization for June 6th, and we have two holdovers. Is there a motion for the authorization?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? We are adjourned until the 6th of June.
Yay. He's better, thank you. He's out of the hospital.